I make work about my life and the kind of issues and events that inform my life. They inform my thinking. And I think of myself as coming from a family. I don't think of myself as being out on my own and or as an individual at all, really. I think my family is just a normal family, just an ordinary family with heroes and villains. And I thought that if my family is like this, then every family is. And that's the idea that I wanted to project, stripping away the primitive and the exotic from the image of the contemporary Aboriginal. So I wanted to give this idea of the black people that I know is true. I know it's true of myself and my immediate family and my extended family. It had always been about making art about my life experience and my family and what happens to Aboriginal people, what actually happens to Aboriginal people and what Aboriginal people do and how they think and what they say. And that's what I wanted to do. I mean, it didn't make any sense to make art about, you know, a time or an imagined time in Aboriginal history that, you know, may or may not have been real. I have very early memories of drawing. I don't remember the first time, but I do have a sense of drawing when I was very little. I have a sense of sitting down on the floor in my Nana's house, in a corner under the table, and just drawing on I don't know, anything, paper, and but my mum and my grandmother tell me that I was drawing really, really little, and they would just give me something. But then again, all kids draw when they're very little. You can give any kid a pen and paper and they will draw. But I have a sense of that when I was very little, like 3 or 4, 5 years old, and things like that. But the difference with me though is that as I got older, I became more obsessed with it. None of us are born being able to draw well, but we are born loving it, and that's all it takes really. And you discipline yourself, but it's racking up the hours, and I really appreciate the obsessive way I went about it now. You know, like, you know, I used to go looking in bookshops for any drawing books, any technical kind of processes that I could discover, because I didn't really have teachers that could point me in those directions. I never had a teacher at school who said, here, this is a book about drawing. 2004, 2005 was somewhere around there. Richard and I were just sitting down talking, and Richard, as he does, he just gets up and he just says, you know, oh, that's it, you know, we should start up our own group. And he said, yeah, we need a name, we should, and I said, yeah, you know, this has to be a proper group, you know, it's got to be a proper group, Proppa Now, you know. And he said, well, that's what we should call it then. And we want it to be, you know, an engine that produces that kind of voice, you know, that sustains that kind of work. So, and I'm aware that it's up to us to actually lay the groundwork for that, to produce a body of work as individuals and as a group identity. Because there's a lack of critique outside of Proppa Now, we have to be responsible enough to take on that role within Proppa Now for each other. It's a good way of regulating the quality of what we do. In North Queensland, it was made very, very clear to me very early on that I was Aboriginal and that I was not going to be considered or permitted to be anything other than that. And so I don't know when I kind of took that and ran with it. And I like it. Certainly me and my cousins that I grew up with, we liked being blackfellas. We all still like being blackfellas. And it doesn't occur to any of us that we want to be anything else. And so in terms of how that informs my art practice, I would say that it informs my art practice fully. And so if people want to call me an Australian artist, then that's fine. But an Aboriginal artist is probably more apt. It more fully describes me.